Hi everybody, this is Jenai Morehead, and today I wanted to talk about logic models. Now I know you don't want another planning tool, you don't want another chart or another method. Well, the reason I want to talk about logic models is because if you have this scenario, you can well appreciate this. Say you have a team, and the team has various ways of running ideas through thought processes, but you only need really one good one. Well, I'm going to introduce you to one that is pretty easy, and you can do it formally or informally. So I'll show you both. The first thing that I'll show you is the formal method of a logic model. And again, it's a planning tool to run an idea through. So I hope it works for you. And of course, I want to thank the people at Wisconsin University Extension for their wonderful website where I get all of these wonderful things, and you can visit them. They are the king and queens of logic models, and they make things easier for me and much more simpler to teach my class, and so I can share with you. So here we go. Let me put on my glasses and minimize my screen. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to show you a logic model template that's blank first. Excuse me. There we go. Okay. A logic model template that's blank first, and I'll go over it with you. Right here, if you have a project that you're running an idea through, then your name of your project would go here. The situation would go here. Sometimes there are situations that cause ideas to pop up, and then there would be possible assumptions. Assumptions would be things that you have to assume might happen. And then external factors, things that you cannot help but you need to be aware of. And in a logic model, what we do is we take what we call investments, and we call those inputs, and we list them, because you have things that you can actually put into a project. Things that you may not know you have, but this is why you use this as a planning tool to gather everyone's thoughts as to what do we have. It's just like that commercial, what do you have in your pocket? The next thing is outputs or activities and participation. For activities, it's what are you going to do with all of your resources? And for outputs, we also have participation. Who is involved or who is targeted in this project? And then outcomes are extremely important. They are the impact of what you do with all of your contributions and investments and resources. And in this logic model, we talk about short, medium, and long-term outcomes. So let's go to one that I have already done for sake of time, so I won't be having to type while you're watching. So a logic model can be used for a nonprofit or a for-profit, a business. And so here's one that I made up, and the name of this project is Our Beautiful Store. And so this whole template is an example, but the key thing to understand is that you should be able to walk through, or talk through rather, your logic model, and it should make sense to you and to other people. It's a kind of a template as to will this work, or does this project make sense? So in this situation, for example, I put there is no grocery store within 5 miles of a neighborhood. And I just want to clue you in that this is actually a real life situation taken from a client of mine. And so we'll walk through it and see all of the scenarios. And there was actually no grocery store within 5 miles of their neighborhood. I visited a state several years ago, and there was a major city, and I walked into the neighborhood, or a neighborhood, and the same scenario happened. No grocery store, just liquor stores. So, okay, and then here we have an assumption that the community will approve and be involved in your project. And also, here's an external factor that I thought about, that we would stay on budget and that we can get our building permitted. So let's say you meet with your team. So this is an example, just a scenario, imaginary scenario that can happen. I've seen it happen twice. Your investment. So you gather your team and you say, well, what do we have? Your team comes up with a list of things that you have. Cash, you have a building or potential building, you have volunteers, you have food, at least enough to start a store, you have shelving, used but you have it, and you have business partnerships. All of these things are extremely important, and they're called inputs or your investments. And so then you come over here to your outputs or activities and participation. Let's look at the activities column. What are you going to do with all of these inputs or investments? Your cash will be your startup costs, probably pay for rent if you don't own the building. Your volunteers here can clean up the store. With food, you can stock the store, and your volunteers can also stock the store. Then you have business partners, and with them, what we do with them, you can market to them and bring awareness, and they can also be your potential investor relations. So with all of these inputs and activities, who are you going to be talking to? Who is going to be participating in this? Well, there are several facets to that. For instance, people in a made-up town, USA, who live within 5 miles of the store. They are invested in this project because it will affect them. Businesses that live within our target zone, within the 5-mile radius. Potential funding sources. You definitely want them involved. And you want local government involved also. So with all of this activity, what are going to be your outcomes? The impact of what you do with all of this. Your short-term outcomes, short-term is usually about 6 months, is that you want to create a convenience for people. Instead of them having to travel far outside of their living area to get to a place to buy groceries, you want to create something that they can have right in their neighborhood, maybe a few blocks away from their homes. You also want to lower food insecurity in the area. Because if there are no grocery stores, if there is no place to shop, then they may not be able to get food in a timely manner. You want to provide a good product as a business, either a nonprofit or business. I've seen nonprofits and business do the same thing. So you want to provide a good product. You also want to employ people. That is really, really important, especially people in the local area. And of course, in order to do this right, you want to make a profit. So it must be a profitable business venture. Your median outcome, let's discuss those. Let me adjust my picture here. Put it up here. Your medium outcome will be to expand with nutrition and health experts. Perhaps you want to start another department in your store. You want to add farmers markets for the neighborhood to bring in fresh foods. And another outcome would be to increase your branding and profits by renting out space to a pharmacy or beauty supply. We see that all the time, every day. And to create partnerships with larger suppliers. And here we discuss your long-term outcomes is perhaps in the future you want to open up a second store or even a third store in the area. Start a bakery or deli. And another outcome is keep the neighborhood involved by donating now to local nonprofits, and then even start an organic garden. So this is a logic model. So we just ran an idea through it, a fictitious idea, but it's an idea to solve a problem. And that's the whole thing that you want to do, is you want to solve a problem. Businesses exist to solve problems. And there's no problem with having fun doing it. And at the beginning of the video, I did promise to tell you how to do an informal way and simply just have an informal meeting, because people sometimes they don't like a formal meeting with charts and graphs and things like that. And so just take the topics, the headings across the top, and talk about investments, talk about your activities, talk about your participation, and then talk about your outcomes, your short, medium, and long-term outcomes, just in a conversational manner. And that's a really informal way to do a logic model. Have someone taking some informal notes. Don't stress people out, and make it a great day. Thank you. So this is Jenai Morehead, and I hope that I have helped make your life and business more simple by introducing you to this planning tool called a logic model. Take care.